I worked on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Building up to the NFL. I never work evenings. It was like my day was all mixed up. By 9 p.m. we were still on air, like building up. And I'm normally getting into bed by that point. I'm just like, oh, wired. But gone are the days when I'd stay up all night having a Super Bowl party. Part of it that I like, though, is the like building up to all the adverts. I don't know if that's so much of a thing.
Yeah.
We
The
don't
Nike
get
one?
So much. No, I didn't.
The Nike one is incredible.
Oh,
it's
I
like,
still haven't
it's all
seen
kind
that.
of female, really famous female athletes. The theme of the advert is you're gonna get shit for it anyway. Just do it.
Oh,
yeah. So it's like if you're too good or you're too strong or you're too confident, they're going to say it anyway. So do it.
Just do it.
That's not. It's not the just do it slogan, but it's the kind of.
That's good. It's clever. Did you
really
see the Mountain Dew one?
Oh, yes.
I love seal as a seal.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that one.
Seal
It's the most bizarre thing
weird.
you've ever seen. And it actually ends with these guys in a boat and they're drinking Mountain Dew and they're like, that was weird.
That was weird.
It's seal, space on a seal, singing, there used to be a... It's just genius. It really is.
And the whole Kendrick Lamar halftime show.
Yeah.
I keep watching it back and I keep seeing all different kind of commentary articles
Different
on
layers.
it. It's incredible. But it was that whole kind of commentary on America and that it was, and having Samuel L. Jackson there and Serena Williams came into it. It was great. Doing the crip walk and doing the whole...
I know,
Yeah. And then President Trump.
I know.
In the appearance.
What the hell? I still can't believe he's the first president to have ever gone to a Super Bowl. I was like, come on.
Well, the rest of them have been working, haven't they?
True. And the whole Taylor Swift thing, I mean, come on, like, grow
He's obsessed
up.
with her.
Grow up.
I think he doesn't forget. That's it. He just thinks, okay, I've got a grudge and I am not going to let it go.
I've got a grudge against a 35-year-old pop star.
Yep.
I'm an 80-year-old man with a fixation on a 35-year-old pop star.
But it's not like a popularity contest, is it? And like,
it is though, isn't it?
Well, she doesn't care.
Yeah, I'm sure
but
she
equally,
doesn't.
like, she's not performing to a load of young girls and teenagers. It's a huge sporting event where there are hardcore fans of Philadelphia Eagles. She's from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
There are lines from her songs talking about the Eagles. And she's a Philly girl. And of course she's there supporting her other half as, you know, the Kansas City Chiefs. So of course there's going to be a bit of like booing and fun and all that to go with it. It's not like it's because they all hate her because they want to cancel her out of America.
Well, given that she's sold out that very stadium on her extremely profitable world tour, I'm going to suggest that she doesn't have an issue in terms of popularity. I think she's okay.
I think she's going to be all right.
I think she'll live to fight another day. Did you see though, Travis Kelce didn't take low-key clothes to go home in because he was so confident that they were going to win that he'd just got that. I mean, orange,
I didn't think about
shiny
70s
suit.
inspired sort of, and the shoes, everything a bit sparkly.
It's the first thing my daughter said in the morning because she came down. They're only interested just in the kind of gossipiness and everything around it.
Of course.
And she came down. Travis Kelce was so confident he was going to win. Didn't even take his change of clothes. Only took his party clothes.
As a Man United fan, it still felt so weird seeing him in an actual Villa kit.
It's like leaving home a little bit. I wonder if that is how he feels.
What we could talk about is kind of abuse of power from certain positions. You're saying to the women that work with you, you are not important to us.
I know lots of people who've not spoken up about a lot of things.
Oh, and then they go on telly and be very, very nice. But you think, when I saw the real you, when I was making your tea and I was insignificant to you.
And he was in the papers and lots came out about it. It was like, oh God.
So if you are not the person, is there then a level of responsibility on you to raise this situation?
Hi, I'm Hayley McQueen and welcome to Not Just Football, part of the Overlap Network and brought to you by Sky Bet. And as ever, every week, I am joined by Kelly Cates and Christine Lampard, and football brings us all together. It's the game we absolutely love, but of course, we love chatting about anything really, a whole host of things, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today.
Jermaine Genius is back and broadcasting for TalkSport, saying that he's coming back a better person. This is 6 months after he was sacked by the BBC. There's also been the ongoing story around Gino D'Acampo, and obviously there are often stories like this around the media. We can't really, we need to kind of set out, I think, what we can and can't say, because as with all these cases, sometimes it's the tip of an iceberg, and there is lots more going on beneath the surface that we can't talk about for legal reasons. And I think that's where people can tie themselves in knots when they're broadcasting this kind of story, because one group of people will say you're not doing enough, and one group of people will say it's a witch hunt. But I think we can definitely talk about that more widely in terms of, I suppose, what we could talk about is kind of abuse of power in from certain positions, and how what often seems to happen in a lot of stories is that you have women who are perceived as being junior or perceived as not being very powerful, who are targeted in an inappropriate way to whatever level by men who are in more senior positions. And I've found this week, with all these conversations going on, exhausting, because it feels never ending. It feels as though, have we moved on at all? Have we actually managed to achieve anything? Have we made anywhere better?
Kind of happened. It just, we didn't hear about it. And so things have changed now, whether it's just a case of people feeling like they can speak up, that they will be heard. Social media plays a huge part in that, obviously. So things, I think, have changed from that perspective. I don't think maybe what goes on has maybe changed at all. Maybe it has got better, but certainly I would suggest back in the day there were lots of maybe potentially awful things going on. And I don't mean just in the media, I mean in every kind of workspace. But you just didn't feel you were in a position to speak up, because you definitely wouldn't get heard, and you probably would have lost your job.
You do worry now, though, if you work for TalkSport and Women in Football came out with their statement, they were disappointed and saying there were people who were upset about him being brought in and to come back broadcasting. Yes, maybe I might feel uncomfortable working alongside him, but I'm not in that position. I don't know how I'd feel. It's not been placed upon me, but other people have. And I think, well, if they have spoken up, and if Women in Football are saying there are people who work there who are not comfortable, are they actually really being heard? Because if they were, surely he wouldn't be back doing that. And there might be people not wanting to work on particular programmes that he's placed on, or particular matches. So then what happens? Do you put him in place but take the others that have worked there for a long time out of the equation? I don't know how you feel about that.
There are three stages, aren't there? There's the behaviour itself. Then there is the reporting of that behaviour and whether somebody feels able to report it and whether they feel they'll be listened to. And then there's how that behaviour is dealt with, which feeds back again into people's ability to report it, and then into whether or not that behaviour is acceptable. Because if there is unacceptable behaviour that is reported, is dealt with, and then it comes back full circle, then it feels like, well, you're effectively legitimising that kind of behaviour. If there are no consequences for it, and if there are no serious consequences for it, you've effectively said, we are tacitly approving this. My concern with if this kind of behaviour is swept under the carpet or is moved on from what feels like too quickly in some instances, then the problem is that if it then happens again at the same organisation, they've created the environment in which that behaviour is acceptable and can flourish. That would be my concern. Really, that if it's not dealt with properly, I don't know, as a company, if you have a responsibility legally to look after your employees and to not put them in places where they are or feel that they are unable to perform their job to the best level. Well, you think that is in place,
wouldn't you? You'd like to think that actually is the case, but maybe legally it's not illegal.
Yeah, but there has to be some kind of duty of care to the people who are working for you. And would you, if there was somebody, and I'm thinking of various kind of historic instances of this, if there was somebody who was accused of and reported to have participated in some kind of unacceptable behaviour, would you be happy sending your daughter to go and work with them? Would you be happy to go, if your girlfriend or your wife, to go in and work with this person? Because I think you wouldn't want to have them in a position where they would feel vulnerable to any kind of inappropriate sexual behaviour at work. You can't, if you don't properly sanction the people who have participated in this behaviour, you're letting them get away with it. And you're saying to the women that work with you, you are not important to us. You're saying to the men who work with you, if you want to do this, we've got your back. And it creates a really unpleasant environment. And you know what? It says some people are not replaceable, and everybody is replaceable. And it shouldn't be the people who behave well in this situation who are punished. It should be the people who've behaved badly in this situation who are the ones who miss out.
Yeah. And how would you feel as a person who is so desperate to try and do that role or break through and is trying and trying and trying, yet somebody who has behaved in an inappropriate way is just brought back in and given a role again, or being given a job that you think you have a chance to do? It's almost like, why do they deserve the right to have a second chance when some people haven't even been given a first chance?
Yeah, that's an age-old issue as well, isn't it? I would like to think I'm always a nice person to work with and all the rest of it. And I, over the years, certainly, thankfully not at this point in my life, but certainly my earlier days, as a floor manager as well, you'd see ridiculous behaviour of grown people like throwing their toys out of the pram. And you just think, oh my God. And then they go on telly and be very, very nice. But you think, but I saw the real you when I was making your tea and I was insignificant to you. And you kind of think that, but everyone was just fussing around them, and you think, oh my goodness. Yeah. So does bad behaviour be rewarded? And then everyone around them's quite fearful of it. But I think that's not going to maybe change.
Do you think that people in the workplace have a duty to, because here's the problem, is a lot of it is whispers, a lot of it is rumours, a lot of it is gossip. So if you are not the person who has been targeted, is there then a level of responsibility on you to raise this situation? Because what happens is often people go, well, everybody's known about this for ages. And it's like, that's one thing, but do you have concrete proof? And that's the much more difficult part of it. So if because it might be that if you are, say, a young woman who is targeted for this and you're starting out in your career, you don't feel that you can report it. But if you've heard whispers, and we all know what it's like, often it's whispers between women in the makeup room, and it's, looks around, and these stories are exchanged. But if they're not your story to tell, what can you do? I mean, as you said, and there are instances where men are saying, I don't feel that this is the right point to start working with Jermaine in this case. Again, it's not just something that's coming from women. But how much responsibility do you think there is on colleagues to talk about this stuff?
I know lots of people who've not spoken up about a lot of things. I know I was in a position myself many years ago, starting out when I worked as a runner on daytime TV, and there was a set presenters that worked 4 days of the week, different presenter that worked 1 day of the week, and he was unpleasant and he was rude, and he did say things to me and another one of the girls who worked. I was helping out in the fashion department. A few years later, it came out. And he was in the papers and lots came out about it. I was like, oh God, of course that was happening, because we experienced it. He didn't do anything to us, but he certainly said inappropriate things. And I was like, oh, I should have spoken out, but not a chance in hell as someone starting out in the industry who was just like an assistant runner. Would I even mention it? Because I thought, well, if I'm going to get ahead, I'll just have to play along with this. And I'll go along with the joke. And I did do that. I wouldn't now, but I'm 40 odd years old and I've been around in the business.
So here's the other problem, is that we would all be in a position where we are less likely to be the target of that kind of behaviour. Partly because we're in a position where we probably would be listened to if we said anything about it, and we would be paid attention to. And that's why I'm asking about that responsibility of speaking out for people who maybe feel that they can't. Yeah. But at the same time, trying to balance that with not wanting to tell somebody else's story. And it might also be that there is a level of behaviour that we could all put up with because we're experienced enough and strong enough to kind of be able to bat it away. But should you bat it away? Should you go, do you know what, I don't think that's a big deal, therefore I'm not going to do anything about it? Or do you think, is it my responsibility to take a stand on this because I will be listened to?
That's a big stand though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because as you say, if you come across behaviour that, nothing really bothers me, and I can have a big enough mouth when I need to, and I'll use it. Exactly. And so but like you say, I wouldn't have been like that 25 years ago, of course not. But I do feel as well, is this a battle that suddenly you feel like you're doing it for a greater cause, but that you have no backing either?
Yeah.
So even you might be trying to protect someone else and their story, but actually then when it comes to it, you're on your own doing it. They've stepped back.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you have to be willing to really make a stand, I think, and feel very confident. Also, I think when it comes to an awful lot of the cases recently, and this is not to take away from any of the accusations, but when it's historic, it's very difficult, I think. It's very difficult for the person to prove that it happened unless there were witnesses or occasions that there's proof. And then it's also for those accused, they can say, I don't even remember meeting you, or I did this, and so if there's the lack of physical kind of proof in all of this comes back to that slight gossip hearsay thing that you mentioned earlier there. And that's what makes it all so difficult for people at home, I think, to digest as what really happened. Yeah. Did they say that? How do we know for sure that that's the way it was, the context of it or whatever? I often think about sometimes as well the families of everyone around it. If there's a partner at home, or if there's young children maybe involved and things. I do think there's a lot of naming and shaming before there's the proven proof. And if there's proven proof, that's something different. But when it's social media hearsay, it doesn't matter what the case or story is.
And
that's the
that
bit
can stick for a lifetime.
That
may not necessarily be true.
That I think can be very, very dangerous.
And yet, again, it's that balancing act of we know from far more serious sexual offences that women are generally not believed, and when they are believed, it's very difficult to prove them, and there are very few convictions. That's at the much more serious criminal end of the scale, and so we know that this is not some kind of witch hunt where innocent guys are being targeted every 5 minutes. I'm not saying that doesn't ever happen, but it is incredibly rare, and all the numbers will back that up. So it's but it again, it's how much can you actually do without having the concrete proof there, and where you go in it.
I know that you're going to get the backing.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Those that have maybe agreed with you, right? We're all going to take a stand, and then you become the sort of the spokesperson for a group of people. Are they going to stay with you?
Yeah,
because I know cases where we've come together as a group and someone's put themselves forward to say we're not happy with this. And then you go around the room and you're in a meeting with lots of other people, and it's suddenly an intimidating atmosphere, and all those that you thought were in agreement with you just don't speak up, and before you know it, you're there on your own. And that has happened before.
If I were to witness
Not
something,
to me, but
like something awful, clearly awful, I couldn't find anyone quick enough to tell.
Yeah, of
course.
So,
so again, it kind of. It depends on that, and again then on the person. But then there are some things that you'd speak out of even if they didn't want you to, if you thought it was bad enough.
Yeah.
But it's I think and different people's levels of what humour is nowadays.
True.
This is changing every single day. What I find funny, you mightn't find funny, and vice versa.
Yeah.
You might find it offensive. That it's becoming, those lines are becoming more and more blurred, I think. That's why comedians are coming under fire all the time now, and. It's a difficult terrain, really, I think, for people that have to choose whether you're wrong or right. It is difficult to say, well, you're offended, but then they're not, and it's very, very difficult for people.
I saw a great rule of thumb.
Unless it's right in front of you and it's
exactly,
proven,
and you can physically see it with your own eyes. But I saw a great rule of thumb. Because so often, you hear men saying, "Oh God, what can we say anymore? How do we talk to women anymore?" And there was a great rule of thumb, which was, don't ever behave towards a woman in a way you wouldn't want another man behaving towards you in prison. Which I think is great. It's like, I tell you what, you'd very quickly understand the difference between friendly banter and someone propositioning you if you put yourself in that situation where you felt threatened, or you felt like you were in a position where your power levels were below theirs.
That's very.
It's quite a handy little rule of thumb.
I want to touch on as well this whole sort of abuse of power in sport and what we're seeing being played out at the moment with the fallout from the kiss of Luis Rubiales
and Jenny Hermosa.
Yeah, and how he tried to spin that, and again something that it was completely unacceptable. It was awful. It was uncomfortable. She thankfully came out and was very strong, has the backing, and it's gone to a place
eventually.
now. Yeah, eventually. But had he have, we had a little discussion beforehand, had he have maybe come out straight after that, this doesn't excuse it, by the way, and said, oh my gosh, what a huge error of judgment. I am so embarrassed. I am mortified. I completely agree that was wrong. I was caught up in the moment. It still would have been wrong, but I don't think would have got to where it is now, which is being, of course,
but
dragged
that's the
through
bit,
the court.
isn't it? Because as well, there's lots of allegations of this sort of coercive kind of behaviour behind the scenes. Is it trying to, forcing her down a certain path where it didn't sort of happen? So it's taken a lot of guts for her, I guess.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of, it's the media attention around it too. Everyone suddenly knows your name, knows your life, knows. It's a big, brave step for her to keep on going, but
being disrespected publicly and then being disrespected like after that, and still it's like it's there, the evidence is there for everyone to see, and you're still trying to tell me that it didn't happen, or it didn't happen how
we can see that it did.
Of course we can. I so felt for her. It's a horrible thing to have to go through and to not be celebrating their achievements. And unfortunately you say her name and you think of this.
And again, it's the victim at the centre of a storm, as you say, rather than the perpetrator.
I mean, I remember watching it at the time and thinking, maybe he's like that. Maybe, if it's like an in thing, that's a different setup. But for me, I would hate anybody coming up and just plunk. Oh, God, on live television.
I know.
Oh, my goodness me. It's just, awful. Awful, but it's rumbled on though, hasn't it? I thought it would have been dealt with by now in some way, but and here we are still.
Again, rule of thumb: assume she doesn't want you to kiss her, unless you get very strong vibes that that's the opposite.
Go on then, give us a kiss.
It's not hard, is it? It's just flip the idea of consent in your mind to assume no until you get evidence to the contrary. But rather than assume yes
more
until you
for
get
him,
no.
because it's not just about that. It's the fact that, as you mentioned there, it's the fact that he attempted to coerce her into silence, and it's well, that's showed you for who you are now.
That's the bit, isn't it? That's the bit for me.
Double down.
Well, we're going to head into doing our Super Six in just a moment, and we're wondering whether, because it's a big talking point, and it has been, Marcus Rashford's maybe going to start. Of course, coming on as a Man United fan, it still felt so weird seeing him in an actual Villa kit. I stood at like the big screen in the studios announcing that he'd obviously gone there, and I kept just looking around like it just doesn't seem right to me. And then as soon as he was moving and he came onto the pitch, I was like, I'm so willing him to do well. And I really, really hope that he does, because he's a lovely boy. He's had a lot going on at Manchester United, probably a lot more than maybe we all know, maybe we'll never know. Hopefully he's getting a bit of help and support behind the scenes. He's got a fresh start, raring to go. And I'm hoping to God he's going to do really well, because I think...
How long has he been at Man United? I mean, he was
years.
Like really,
Was he, 11 or so
really,
when he
first, that young.
And the little picture unearthed of him on Google Maps.
Yes,
when
they went in on Google Maps and they found the picture of him waiting for the bus to take him to training.
Who even knew to do that? That's like really impressive.
He must have mentioned that
He
somewhere.
must have. That's very impressive,
It's
though.
still there.
But I think it is when you've been at a club for that long, from being a little boy, really, it sort of seeps into your DNA, doesn't it? So even for him, it is, of course, it's a fresh start, and for fans, they'll have all their various feelings, but you can't help but sort of feel a bit sad. I think, I know when Frank left Chelsea, he felt like that, and I remember him having best year at Man City. We all loved it, but it's still that feeling of, you were just so familiar with something. You
leaving
know,
home, isn't it?
home,
It's like leaving
that's
home.
it.
It's like leaving home a little bit. I wonder if that is how he feels, or whether it was a chapter that was done. We know it was a bit turbulent towards the end for him, obviously.
He could still go back if he does really well and have
yeah,
another
of
sort
course.
of start at United and still be a one-club man, having gone out on loan. But you just don't really hear of that much anymore, do you?
Yeah.
You know,
There's so much goodwill around him, though. I think there are so many people willing him to do well at Villa, and who will be really pleased that he's come on. He seems to have played well in midweek, and has kind of just, like you said, just the fact that he's out there and playing. And that I haven't spoken to anybody who doesn't say, I really hope it works for him. I really hope it works for him. So I hope he can feel that. I hope he can kind of sense that there is this support for him.
all the love from his teammates.
They all liked pictures on his Instagram and all that,
Which is
kind of
quite
stuff,
unusual
so.
when someone moves away.
There's still love
Be
there.
Too scared to like, oh yeah, well done.
Yeah.
You know.
That's right.
But you just don't know how they're all feeling at the club at the
Jadon
moment.
Sancho messaged him to say freedom.
Freedom, yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
Ooh, brave.
Controversial,
I
that really,
know.
isn't it?
I love an Instagram puzzle.
Yeah, I know. Get to the bottom of that.
Yes.
Oh.
I don't think it's that deep.
No, well, it's not really, is it?
No, I think we
I
could
think he's
overthink
just
it.
happy being away and then kind
Freedom.
of and wishing that for his friend. Yeah,
Aw.
exactly. So what do we think then? How do you think he'll do against
Okay.
Ipswich? It's Villa Ipswich this weekend,
So
isn't
let's
it?
have a look at the actual games. Yeah, it's Villa Ipswich. Obviously on a high off the back of the FA Cup.
Mm-hmm. There's a real chance for Villa and for Marcus Rashford in this one, isn't there?
Yeah, let's go with him actually scoring a goal.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Should we go for a 3-0?
3-0, big win.
3-0.
Let's do it.
Fine. Ladies, absolutely. I'm
Because
with
we
you.
were so right the other week.
We were
Yeah.
Sorry,
awful
everyone.
in the last
Watch
one.
that.
Awful.
And
It's
we couldn't
in our
possibly have
defence-
guessed.
But
Yeah.
in our defence, it is £750,000 this weekend, which suggests
Yes.
that lots of people
Yes,
found last one.
It's a
Last one
rollover.
difficult.
It is a rollover. If it rolls over again, it's going to be $1 million.
$1 million. We'll
for
just
next
carry on getting it
weekend.
wrong for a while, shall we?
Yeah, we will. Yeah. Obviously, there's Man City as well. These are the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Man City against Newcastle, but City at home.
Yeah, I think Newcastle 1-0. Isak.
Really?
Yeah. And basically, every time Newcastle play, I'm like, Isak will score. Yeah.
And he normally does. So.
Yeah. I just
normally
feel like they give me good vibes at the moment,
Okay,
Newcastle.
good vibes.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Oh, okay, I'm going to agree. Weirdly, I'm feeling Man City, but
Okay, that's all right, you
let's
can.
No, do it. Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, I think Man City could be a 1-0 Man
yeah.
City. That's where my head's
Kelly
at.
versus
Just because it's at
Christine.
home.
Okay. Fulham, Nottingham Forest is the other 3
Oh
o'clock
well, I mean, this
kickoff.
could go either way, couldn't it? We
Yeah.
know that now.
Right.
12-0 Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say.
That's the thing. It was a huge defeat, then a huge win for Forest. And now they're going to play Fulham, who are really hard to play against at Craven Cottage. There could be goals. Should we go for, I might go for a little 3-2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know
3-2.
why. Yeah. Forest don't generally concede a lot of goals, do they? So that was kind of out the blue.
Okay.
Or maybe I'm going for Forest 2-1.
Okay.
I don't know, Hayley. I don't know.
Forest.
My
2-1.
confidence has been knocked by our previous performance. I don't think I know anything anymore.
2-1 sounds good.
Yeah.
I think that's, yes.
Let's go
That's
2-1
the- Yeah,
Forest.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
2-1.
Ooh, Everton's revival under Moyes continue. That's Saturday, 5:30 away at Palace.
Now they will have had. Hang on. What day is that? What day is Saturday?
Saturday.
Day after
What
Friday.
date is Saturday?
Day before
This is
Sunday.
Saturday the 15th, isn't
This
it?
is it. Yeah, it is.
Because they'll have had the Merseyside derby in midweek, is what I'm
Of
trying to
course.
work out.
Of
So,
course.
okay,
Which will be
tagline.
very emotional, intense, kind of, and then off to Palace. I think Palace might win this one.
Okay.
I think Everton could get something out the derby.
Like a 1-0 or a goal fest?
Palace Everton could be maybe 2-0.
2-0, that's, yeah.
Okay. Oh, and then Liverpool Sunday, 2 o'clock. Like they had Spurs, but then post Plymouth,
Post Plymouth,
and
post Derby.
Yeah,
Again, it's the same sort of thing, isn't it? What if they?
but it's at home.
But it's at
It's
home.
Wolves.
And it's at home. He goes, well, they don't have to travel far to Goodison. Do you go Liverpool win in that one?
Yeah,
Liverpool.
I would.
If they
2-0,
don't win, the wheels are off.
Yeah,
2-0.
true.
That's what we're saying, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, correct. And then, oh God.
Oh dear, I don't know what to say about that.
I'm doing that game.
This is
literally anything.
Anything?
This could be 7-7. This could be this could be
anything or nothing.
anything or nothing. The only thing I would say, Man United, the way that or when they tend to play better, is when they go and they kind of just make it difficult for teams.
Yeah.
So I think it's either a mad scoreline or it's a Man United 1-0. That that's my...
And could not need a win like more.
I know.
Do you think this could be it?
No, I think the Europa League is the chance of winning a trophy.
It's their only chance.
If
Isn't
that's
it?
it, yeah. It's huge, that one.
I'll
go Spurs then.
Yeah.
Okay. For
balance.
as against you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those are your experts.
Those are your expert
That's
predictions.
it.
Super Six predictions.
Roll on £1 million.
Yeah, roll on the £1 million. £1 million.
We are deliberately trying to help you.
Yes.
By getting it wrong.
Yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Not Just Football for every episode and more.